scored a perfect score on the ACT to get into the University of Chicago, and this is how I approach SAT vocab questions. Here's a pretty easy one just as an example. Although critics believed that customers would never agree to pay to pick their own produce on farms, such concerns didn't blank Booker T. Whatley's efforts to promote the practice. Thanks in part to Whatley's determined advocacy, farms that allow visitors to pick their own apples, pumpkins, and other produce can be found throughout the United States. So you actually don't want to look at the answer choices for the vocab questions, at least not yet. Before you do that, you want to look at the context within the question and figure out, in your own words, what kind of vocab word you would put in the blank. So for this one of the context clues is that later Whatley had this determined advocacy, which eventually accomplished this thing. So that probably means that these concerns that these critics had didn't slow or stop Booker T. Whatley's efforts. Okay, now that you've paraphrased what the answer probably is, using the context, you can now finally look at the answer choices. And since, let's say, enhance and misrepresent, we know pretty well, don't fit with our definition of slow or stop, we can cross those off. Just for the sake of this example, let's say that you don't know what aggravate means, but you have a pretty good sense of what hinder means, which is to slow or stop. That's why this approach to vocabulary questions can actually help you get these right more often than not, because if you already have an idea of what the word is supposed to be going into the answer choices, you won't get misled by answer choices that you don't know the definition of, like, let's say, aggravate in this example. So finally, that lets us pick hinder, which is the closest to our definition and context of slow or stop. And that's just one type of question on the SAT or ACT or any of these standardized tests that you're trying to take to get to your next step of education. And if you want to learn more about how to ace these tests from somebody who got a 99th percentile score on both the ACT and SAT and qualified for National Merit Scholarships, you can follow me at Perfect Score Tutoring to learn more about all of the techniques that you're going to need to get a perfect score.